Hello there, beautiful people. I'm Celestine of Ghana Christian International High School. I would encourage you guys to subscribe to this club. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hello there, you are welcome to His Gov TV. Before I begin with our discussions today, I would like to remind you to subscribe to our channel, should in case you have not done so. And if you have done so too, we thank you very much for your support. So today we are looking at the outcome of the 1954 legislative election. You recall that in our previous lesson, we looked at the 1951 election, the legislative election in 1951, and we saw that the 1951 election was the first of its kind to be conducted in the Gold Coast. So the 1951 election happened to be the first election that was conducted in the Gold Coast. And we saw that the CPP, which was led by Sergeant Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, emerged as the winner in that election, winning 34 seats out of 38. And we saw that the UGCC also won only 3. So that is a continuation of this lesson. So in case you missed that, I would insert the link in the description so that you check for it for yourself. Again, we also looked at the 1954 Constitution, the Kwame Nkrumah Constitution, which we said was drafted by Sergeant Dr. Kwame Nkrumah himself, because he considered the 1951 Constitution, the Edin Clark Constitution or the Coase Constitution, as imperialist fraud, and so he drafted a new constitution which he believed would grant total freedom to the Gold Coast. And so as a result of that constitution, as a result of the clauses in that constitution or the provisions that was made in that constitution, there was a need for a new election to take place. And that is why an election took place after 1951 election. Another election took place in the next 3 years, which we are going to look at. The reason why this election, which is supposed to be the second election conducted in the Gold Coast, was conducted was because of the fact that the 1954 Constitution that Nkrumah had brought about, some certain things were changed, especially with the number of seats. I think Nkrumah changed from 84 seats as it was in the 1951 Constitution to 104 seats. And so there was a need for a new election to take place so that those provisions could be fulfilled, so that the other constituencies which have now come to join will be included. Again, don't also forget that in the 1951 Constitution, the Coase Constitution, there were seats still reserved for the chiefs. The chiefs were meant to appoint certain people. You understand? They were given some seats to appoint. And we also saw that in Nkrumah's Constitution in 1954, all the seats were going to be contested for. And that was the first time something of that sort was going to happen in the Gold Coast. And so you've seen quite a number of changes in this new constitution, 1954 constitution, and therefore an election was supposed to be conducted in order to meet those provisions. And so it is because of that, it is as a result of the 1954 constitution that a new election was conducted in the Gold Coast in 1954. So bear in mind, this election, it was the second election to be conducted in the Gold Coast. So as we do every day, our lesson objectives for today is for us to be able to mention some of the political parties that are contested in the 1954 Constitution in the Gold Coast. And I'm sure you recall some of the political parties that contested the 1951 election, the first ever election held. Let's see if those same parties or new ones will be added to it. And then also analyze the results of the 1954 election. Let's do an analysis of this election, and then we are going to compare the results of this election, the 1954, the second election, to that of the first election, and see the changes that will take place. So let's begin with the introduction. So I have already explained the whole of this introduction. Following the adoption of the new constitution on April 29th, 1954, there ought to be a new election to reflect the provisions that the new constitution was, demanding. So now we don't have 84 seats as it was in the 51 constitution, but now we have 104 seats. And these 104 seats are all going to be contested for. And so there was a need for a new election to take place so that those provisions could be met, because the constitution that was in place was the 1954 constitution, the Kwame Nkrumah constitution. Now, this election was held on 15 June 1954. So the election was held on 15 June 1954. Now, it is also important to also stress that the 1954 general election was the second to be held in the Gold Coast, and I have already said that. And also, we are saying that it gave the country its first All-African Assembly. The 1954 election gave the Gold Coast its first All-African Assembly. So the General Assembly, or the National Assembly, was composed of only Africans, as opposed to the 1951 constitution. You see, in the 1951 constitution, provisions were made for Europeans to be in there, to be part of the legislative assembly, which Nkrumah felt was wrong for foreigners to still be in the legislative assembly of the Gold Coast. And so in the 1954 constitution, Nkrumah had taken away all the seats that were reserved for the foreigners, the British. And so that being done, it means that, for the first time, the National Assembly was going to be composed of only African, people. And National Assembly is just equivalent to our parliament today. So you say our parliament, yeah. Good. So let's look at the parties that contested in that election. So as usual, I know if I ask you to mention some of the parties that contested, the CPP will be the first party that you are going to mention. And so it is not surprising the CPP, or the Convention's People's Party, contested in that election. Now, again, we had new parties also joining, and some of them were the NPP, the Northern People's Party. This Northern People's Party is not the party that like New Patriotic Party. No, they don't have any affiliations, all right? It's a different party. We also had the Togoland Congress Party, all right? They also contested. Then the Ghana Congress Party, they also contested. And then we also had the Muslim Association Party also contesting the 1954 election. Again, we also had the Anlo Youth Association also contesting. And this reminds me, the mention of Anlo reminds me of their festival, the Hobochucho Festival, which was just celebrated yesterday, and with attendance of Tumfo and Co. So I have a video that I have done on that. I recorded, I took a shot of some of the events happening there, so you can go and check in my videos. I have them there. The Anlo Youth Association Party. Then the last of them were the independent candidates. Now, interestingly, take a look at all these parties. All right, one party is missing. I don't know if you can tell me. Yes, and it is no other than the UGCC. The UGCC party is kind of missing from these parties, but don't be surprised, they are there, they are not missing. The UGCC changed their name to the Ghana Congress Party. So this is the UGCC party. They changed their name to the Ghana Congress Party, GCP. And they were still led by J.B. Dankwa and K. Buzia, as well as Oforiatta. So you recall in the 1951 election, they came up with the UGCC. I don't know why they decided to change their name to the Ghana Congress Party. Well, we can deduce. I mean, I'm being subjective here, but I think that maybe because of their abysmal performance in the 1954 in the 1951 election. Please forgive me. This is 1954 rather. Okay, it's not 51. It's 54 rather. It's just a mistake. Forgive me. So it's supposed to be 1954 elections rather, not 51. Good. So let's continue. I think that they changed their name to the Ghana Congress Party because of the abysmal performance of their political party in the 1951 election, where they won only 3 seats out of 38 seats. They only won 3. So probably changing their name they felt would help to improve their performance in this election. Yes, so let's see if the changing of the name affected the results of the election. Good, so let's look at the outcome of the 1954 legislative election in the Gold Coast. So this was the outcome of the second election ever held in the Gold Coast. So the Convention's Post Party, which was led by Sergeant Dr. Kwame Nkrumah himself, won 71 seats. 71 seats out of, so the seats, the number of seats contested were 104. We are already familiar with that, all right? Yes, 104 seats were contested. And Kwame Nkrumah won 71 of those seats, which still makes him, or makes the CPP a majority, all right? So, of course, makes the CPP a majority in parliament. Now, the Northern Supposed Party were led by J.A. Brima, and he also won 12 seats. You recall this election, this party also did well in the 1951 election, the first one. You see, 12 seats. They won 12 seats. I recall in the other one, they were the ones who even won more. 12 seats. Good. Now, the Togo Land Congress, also, of course, led by S. Jean Anto and Kojo Ache and Co., also won 2 seats. And then we had the Ghana Congress Party, our own UGCC party, J.B. Dankwake, Buzia, and Ufuriata led. They had only 1 seat. Wow. This is just amazing. 1 seat. So you see, they have degenerated. 1951, they had 3 seats. 1954 election, they are getting 1 seat. I reserve my comments. Muslim Association Party, 1 seat. All right, 1 seat. And Law Youth Association, led by Modesta Apollo, also 1 seat. And then the independent candidates rather won 16 seats. So you can see how the fame of the UGCC was degenerating as at this point. And like I always say, this is the party in which the president has fixed the founders' date on the founding day of this party, 4th August, as Founders' Day. Is the day for the formation, or was the day for the formation of the UGCC. And this is the political party that the president wants Ghanaians to celebrate. The founding of this political party, who had won only 3 seats in the ever first election held in the Gold Coast. The second election, they have only won 1 seat. Only won 1 seat. 1 seat. So just imagine. And then because of politics, we don't want to be objective to issues, to political issues, 1 seat. I'm really surprised. But with that said, let's put that one aside. So Nkrumah was still in the lead. Now, what do you notice about these parties? Look at their names. Can you tell me something familiar about these parties? You see, it looks like when you take away the CPP, that is the party one, and then the Ghana Congress Party, which is for the Dankwa Buzia people, and that of the CPP. Now, you will see that the rest, they are all regional parties. Their names suggest regionalism, they don't reflect the whole country, as you would say the Conventions People's Party will, or the Ghana Congress Party will. Look at this. The Northern People's Party were formed by the North. Now, the Togoland were formed by those who were in the Transvoter Togoland, the voter area there up to the north. Then the Muslim Association, probably formed by the Muslims. I'm not quite too sure why the Christians did not also form one. Then the Anlo Youth Association, also formed by the people of the Anlo area there, So you realize that at this point, it looks like every region, because these people were different. If you have followed our lesson, you will see that these people that you have seen there, these names that you have seen there, were different. They were in their different regions with their different leaders and different, whatever. But you could see that all these regions are fighting for dominance, to dominate the political space of the country. And so that was one of the issues that Nkrumah also had to face, being the new prime minister or the first prime minister, because people were trying to separate themselves from the Gold Coast. That unity was not there. That no, let's all come together and build was not there. And so yes, I'll commend the UGCC for naming their party the Ghana Congress Party. Indeed, it was J.B. Dankwa who came up with the name Ghana. And so I'm sure when they came up with the name Ghana, because at this point the name Ghana had been formulated or something, yeah. And so I'm sure when he came up with the name Ghana, he decided to change that to reflect the country as a whole, unlike the other people. So yeah, I'll commend him for that. But you see, all this was the problem that I'm talking about. Nkrumah had to forge the country together in terms of unity and all of that. Good. So this was the outcome of the 1954 election. Good. So subscribe to our channel. If you have any question, you can also, or if you have any topic that you may want us to look at, you can write it in the comment section and we will do that.
TV, Flash of all equals.